Hi, welcome to today's episode of Cold Hearted Complaints. Today I'm going to be talking about a subject I've been working on for quite a while. Since this is a special episode, let's go to someplace special. Here, come with me. Let's go. There, okay. That's better. How does this look here? I think this looks pretty cool, because today we're going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an anime that defines the genre of anime for a lot of young Americans. Both the anime and the popular trading card game was huge across the nation. I even still have a good chunk of my original trading cards from the game. I used to buy so many Kaiba and Joey Wheeler construction decks, mainly because I wanted the Blue Eyes White Dragons. You can see a couple of them here, because they're my favorite cards, and I love Kaiba. He's one of my favorite characters. If you somehow don't know what Yu-Gi-Oh! It's an anime that followed around the adventures of Yugi Moto, a boy with crazy spiked hair who wore a Millennium Puzzle, as seen right here. Inside of it is a pharaoh, the spirit of a pharaoh, the ghost of a pharaoh, and this pharaoh would take over Yugi's body. Together they play a whole bunch of children's card games because card games are what's decided to be the decider of all things in this world. They all play the game Duel Monsters, which is in our world Yu-Gi-Oh, but in their world they call it Duel Monsters because it'd be a bit weird to call the game Yu-Gi-Oh when Yugi is a character in the show. So this is Duel Monsters in the actual show itself. This show was ridiculous and silly, but I would watch it week after week because I was addicted to the card game, I was addicted to the merchandise, like this crazy duel disc here. It's a blast and a really fun children's anime. So a few years after the original series aired in America, they came out with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, a spin-off series that followed the character Jaden Yuki in his adventures at Duel Academy, an academy where you learn how to duel. They don't teach anything else. There's no science, there's no math, there's no history. There's only dueling. They learn dueling here. That's all you do here. It's a duel school. Now, I watched most of this series on its original US run, but they either stopped airing it or I stopped caring because I don't have strong memories of how this show really ended out. All I remember was watching a few of these episodes, getting the idea, seeing the characters, seeing Jaden's weird two-tone hair. Felt really similar to the original, but it was a fun, different kind of show. But a few months ago, I was reminded about the series by Lil Karibo's video that he did on episode 2, where he recaps and goes over episode 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So off of this episode, I thought, you know what? I want to try to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX again. I was sick at the time, I was off work, so I was just gonna go through and watch all this series. Before I knew it, my weekend was gone, replaced with as much Yu-Gi-Oh! GX as I could cram into the weekend. So here we are now. It's a few months later. I've rewatched the entire series, all 4 seasons of it. And you know what? It's just something that I can't not talk about now. I have to do this video, and I have to let you know about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and the adventure I had rewatching it. So let's all buckle in and have a great time as we talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Duel Academy is owned by everyone's favorite crazy billionaire Seto Kaiba. Because really, who else would throw their money away on something so stupid? The man has a jet shaped like a Blue Eyes White Dragon. He does not make responsible investments. At Duel Academy, there are 3 dorms named after the Egyptian god cards. Top-ranked duelists go to Obelisk the Tormentor's blue dorm. Middle of the pack is the Winged Dragon of Ra's yellow dorm. And last as well as least is Slifer the Sky Dragon, who gets the red dorm. Kaiba totally ranked these dorms based on the fact that he had Obelisk the Tormentor, so that's the best dorm, and Yugi had Slifer the Sky Dragon, so that's the worst dorm. Kaiba is so petty. He's one of the best characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and he's hardly even in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. He is that good. Our hero, Jaden Yuki, is a member of the lowest ranked Slifer Red dorm, even though he is without a doubt the best duelist in the school. He chooses to stay in the Red dorm because he likes living in a shitty apartment? Or maybe the showrunners just thought he looked better in red, which I gotta say, hard to argue there. He looks fine. Along the way, he's joined by his fellow classmates like Cyrus, his loyal friend with a very familiar voice.
Guess what, guys? You're not gonna believe this, but I'm actually rooting for Chazz.
Can you place it? Why yes, that is the voice of the chef of the great restaurant Ratatouille.
Carol, why didn't you tell me sooner? You know perfectly well that dish requires a lot more time to prepare than other dishes.
I did a video on that, so I had to bring it up. There's also Alexis, the girl character, who they rarely let do anything interesting or impactful in the show because that's totally fair and cool, totally not sexist at all. We also got a bunch of other people who have almost offensively bad accents, and on top of that, we of course have the one, the only, Chazz Princeton. Chazz is a spoiled rich kid who got all the opportunities in life to be a great duelist. He is absolutely my favorite character in this series, and he fills in the Kaiba role, but is less serious than Kaiba and has a lot more goofy moments. Chazz also gets the catchphrase, Chazz it up, and it's glorious.
Academy's top dueling cards. With them, you will triumph. You will Chazz it up. Chazz it up! Chazz it up! Chazz it up!
I watched the dub version of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which was done by the infamous 4Kids Entertainment. They are responsible for some of the most ridiculous dub jobs in all of anime. They were behind the original Pokemon dub, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Dub, and the original train wreck of a dub of One Piece. Now, 4Kids was never really interested in well-written, faithful adaptations. They went to great lengths to alter their source material to fit in for an American audience. An example of this is in Pokemon, where they have a stronger version to Rice Balls, as this was too Japanese for Americans to understand. It's a ball of rice. Kids these days are never gonna understand that.
These donuts are great. Jelly-filled are my favorite.
In the original Yu-Gi-Oh, they would edit out guns and replace them with nothing. People would just be holding their hand out like they were holding a gun. Like you're a kid and you're pretending you have a gun and you just go bang, bang with your fingers. Then what they did to One Piece could fill out an entire video on its own. They really had no shame. You can tell what stage of your life you're in based on your reaction to it. When you're young, you may not even notice this. As you age though and watch other anime, you may begin to see the cracks in the 4Kids dubs. You may see some original episodes and realize whole chunks of the entire show were taken out and removed. Then when you're my age, you realize the writers and people behind this series did not give a fuck, and it's amazing. As I alluded to, I'm squarely in that third stage right there, and GX is the perfect combination of a ridiculous concept and a team of writers and cast members who just seem like they want to have a whole bunch of fun with this show. You can find these weird fourth wall breaking moments with self-deprecating humor fairly frequently in this show, and it kind of reminds me of a tamer version of the Ghost Stories dub. Ghost Stories being a kid show that when it was brought to America was dubbed to be a fourth wall breaking adult comedy.
Damn Jehovah's Witnesses.
I got a video on that if you want to know more. I don't know how I could watch this show without this ridiculous element to it. I can't imagine a sub version of this, or maybe a faithful adaptation, being as entertaining as this train wreck monstrosity is. Frankly, I don't really want to know, because knowing would ruin the idea in my head of what this show was actually trying to do and trying to be, and how badly 4Kids messed that up. The reason I explain so much about this dub is that it's crucial for understanding my interest in this show. Because without it, I believe that GX would be a mediocre spin-off series of a beloved anime, with a far less interesting plot and characters that somehow manage to be more flat and one-dimensional, and far more time devoted to playing a completely unbalanced card game where the characters' decks contain whatever card will make the ending of the duel more interesting. That is something that actually really stands out between Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX has a very strong focus on the card game. A card game is played almost in its entirety in every episode. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself, you'd sometimes have episodes that would go 3 or 4 episodes of one duel. In Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, typically a duel is one episode, but there is a duel in almost every single episode. But now we're gonna get into more spoilery details, so be warned, going forward I'm gonna give brief recaps of each season, and we're gonna go into each season and go into what this experience of a show is actually like. So if you wanna watch this series, go right ahead. Don't watch this, because I'm gonna spoil everything about it. But you'll get the idea. Let's get right to it now. Let's begin with Season 1. Jaden comes to duel school to duel and supposedly go to school. This season is mainly a bunch of one-off duels that have little to no consequence of the overall story, mainly because there is not an overall story. Besides the Chazzster here learning to believe in the heart of the Chazz at Upster. Then, after 28 agonizing episodes, a plot starts to happen. Yay! Locked inside the island are some secret knockoff Egyptian god cards that an evil group of villains called the Shadow Riders wants because they're evil. They don't explain why, they're just evil. They want them because they're evil. So the principal man gives keys to Jaden and other people who lose their keys almost immediately. So Jaden beats nearly all of the Shadow Riders by himself, leading to the final boss battle with, Kagemaru. Kagemaru, a villain who is never mentioned before or really after he shows up. That's a good sign. This random old guy wanted some jank Egyptian god cards so he can like get eternal youth, because these cards grant that by sucking dual energy or something from cards around the world, because they do that for some reason. Jaden wins because of friendship or whatever, and that the hero always wins in these stories. Then everything goes back to normal and nothing really changes. That's kind of the main flaw with GX Season 1. There are plenty of goofy moments, and the dub gave me some really good laughs. But the story, the plot, is just inconsequential. Nothing is really built up well, and the main villain is just a complete dud. He doesn't show up until the end of the season. He shows up when he begins his fight, and he's just some guy who wants power. That's as boring and mundane as you can get for a villain. So he's just some guy who does an evil thing. That's it. On to Season 2. This time they remember to add a villain, which, how do you forget to add a villain? How do you forget to add a villain? It's the most basic part of the story. How do you forget to add a villain? Like, it's insane to me that they forget to add a goddamn. Okay, well, we got a new duelist. It's Aster Phoenix, who is like totally great, and he has a deck of Destiny heroes that he uses to beat Jaden so hard he can't see his cards anymore. He beat Jaden so hard he goes blind. So Jaden goes on a refreshing sailing trip where he crashes his ship and then is visited by alien duel monsters called Neospatians that he created as a kid for a contest. And then he won the contest, so Kaiba's company put the cards into a rocket and shoot them up into space to be affected by space radiation, I guess? Because Kaiba makes responsible investments. Well, now they're back, and now Jaden can see his cards again. Yay! Alien spirits! So then he goes and beats Aster so hard they become friends, kind of. Which then caused the real villain, Aster's manager Sartorius, to come out to Duel Academy to use his powers of the light to make a cult where he beats people in duel monsters and brainwashes them. Then nearly all of Jaden's friends get brainwashed, like the magnificent Chazz. Sartorius isn't a great villain. He talks a lot about fate and his devotion to the light, which is shown to be a power that is controlling his mind. But his true personality, the one that's not being controlled by this malignant power, rarely shines through, so I don't really feel much for his character. Also, his design is crazy. He has so much stuff going on here. We got his obelisk blue outfit, which he's not even an obelisk blue at this point in the storyline. He's just a guy. Why is he wearing an obelisk blue outfit? He's not in the Duel Academy until much later in the season, so why is he wearing it in his first appearance? His hair. I just don't get how his hair works. Like, there are two tones of blue, and that's fine. That's anime here. I can accept that. But then he has this silver thing in the middle, and it looks like a clip-on. Like, how is this silver thing attached to his head? It just looks like it's kind of like glued on there, like some sort of horn. And then to finish it out, he has these plugs in his forehead. Why are they there? What purpose do they serve? They just seem really weird. I don't know, it just seems all over the place. Like, they had a few ideas for this character, and they just kind of mashed them all into one to make this weird mismatched chimera of a villain. Back to the show. After he starts taking over, nothing really happens for a good chunk of episodes. We get one-off duels that don't really matter, and we find out that Cyrus's big brother Zane graduated and became addicted to kinky cage match duels, because that's there. Should probably also mention that Jaden has a new friend. His name is Hassleberry. He loves dinosaurs, long walks on the beach, and also due to a horrible accident, he has a dino bone in one of his legs. Trust me, that'll be important later on. Eventually, Sartorius actually starts doing something and then gets control of a satellite that he wants to use to mind control the world. And so, of course, they duel over it as the spirit of Jaden's card, elemental hero Neos, enlists the help of Hassleberry and his dino spirit. Hassleberry then astral projects into this cartoony T-Rex and goes into space with Neos. As Jaden beats Sartorius, Neos and Hassleberry destroy the satellite somehow, even though they're like ghosts or something. They're not physical form, so I don't know how they're physically destroying a satellite, but hey, whatever. Jaden wins, the day is saved, and the evil spirit light controlling Sartorius is defeated. As with Season 1, the effects of Season 2 do not actually carry past Season 2. Everything goes back to normal for most characters, and it's kind of like nothing ever really happened except they introduce Aster. Aster still comes around every now and then, but really no major effects to any major characters. Jaden hasn't gone through any changes. Jaden's basically the same as he was in episode 1. He just has new cards. It's a real shame not to see our characters grow or progress in any way, shape, or form. So the first 2 seasons were disappointing from a story perspective, and their only real value to me was how silly they were. This changes in season 3. Season 3 is not a world-class masterpiece, but it has some of the best arcs in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! It opens with a new professor coming to the island, Professor Viper, along with 4 new exchange students. We got Jim, look, I have a crocodile, can you tell him Australian cook?
Let me guess, bad vibes?
That's why I covered her eyes, mate. I'm trying to minimize all the external stimuli.
This is no time to start speaking Australian, Jim.
Yeah.
Adrian, the not-so-surprising surprise villain.
Those cards are gonna be all mine. Let's do this.
Jesse, who is Jaden with a terrible southern accent.
Y'all are looking at him. I'm Jesse. I was so excited to meet you, I guess I just plumb forgot.
And Axel, the man who picks up everyone else's slack and is by far the most competent person ever introduced in the show.
Drop the manners. Fess up. Students are dropping off left and right and all fingers point at you.
So it turns out Professor Villainius Viper, this man here, was evil. And no one could have guessed this.
Oh man, something's not right about this.
Okay, Cyrus could have guessed this, but that's not important. Anyway, he's got a secret plan to steal life force from all the duelists at the school to feed into this giant creepy hand thingy. And the hand has like a telepathic child's voice for some reason, so that's crazy. Jaden and everyone go to stop him when Viper reveals he's doing all this because the hand promised to bring back his son who tragically died after being struck by a car a few years ago. Which is dark. This is one of the first signs of how dark this season is gonna get, so brace yourself. When Jaden eventually wins, the evil hand gains all the power it needs, so it tricks Viper into walking off the ledge, killing him, then transporting everyone else to a sand world which is like super wacky and the duel monsters are real and everything is getting crazy. The hand then possesses a student with a crazy French accent, steals the totally not the real god cards, and faces off against Jaden, alluding to a personal grudge against him before revealing itself to be Yubel, a card Jaden had as a kid apparently. You remember what I told you about Jaden having some cards sent up to space? Well, Kaiba also sent a second rocket up with just this card in it. All because Jaden hoped the duel spirit would be less mean if it had some fun space radiation. He was wrong. Also, again, Kaiba sent up 2 rockets with just playing cards in them. Kaiba, do you know how expensive a rocket launch is? How do you have this much money? Yubel duels Jaden and also Jesse, who again is basically Jaden except for a southern accent. Jesse tells Jaden he's gonna hold Yubel off as they do the thing to get them home, except Jesse is still trapped in the alternate dimension. So Jaden and the gang use the power of card games to rip a hole in space and go save Jesse. This season is very complex, so let's take a moment to talk about something besides the plot. Silly dub moments.
Time to eat. I just love pizza.
Huh? You get pizza while we're stuck with whatever it is I'm holding?
I give you the D! Some of the best duelists in the school, I see. Uh-oh, which one of these is not like the other? Clearly someone here is a little bit lost.
He is not. Chazz was invited.
He means you.
These clips are specifically about this character's voice. It's a little ill-fitting. Let's see if you notice it.
Why don't you go ahead and tell him how it works, Kyle?
See, you gotta duel 50 students. He's defenseless. Charge in, men!
Now this clip here needs a little bit of context. So what happens here is Chumley's father comes to get him, and it's obvious in the original Japanese his deck was centered around alcohol. But 4Kids turned that around to make it hot sauce, so every character in his deck just has bad hot sauce breath.
I shove a dizzy tiger in attack mode!
Dizzy tiger? Weird. So, why is he dizzy?
It looks like too much hot sauce.
What were they really thinking when they were doing this dub? Isn't this great? This dub is incredible. Let me also tell you a brief story about a special episode in my heart. One time there was an episode with this escaped lab chimp named Wheeler. Wheeler had this software on him that allowed him to be able to duel. Which, I mean, if you didn't know, Wheeler is obviously a reference to Joey Wheeler from the original Yu-Gi-Oh cast. Good old Joey Wheeler.
We're here to transport the patient. Where is he?
Right here.
Huh? Him?
Well, he was in critical condition a minute ago.
Don't be lying, Doc. 5 minutes ago. I'm doing fine now. I'm in the best shape of my career, Doc. Just look at these pythons.
Meaning this ape was most likely named as a put down to Joey. Now the only person, again, petty enough to do something like this would be Kaiba, and it just so happens that this entire island is owned by Kaiba himself. So this is clearly Seto Kaiba's whole project, which, Kaiba, you're gonna be getting letters from PETA about this. It's just, you can't be doing that, man. You cannot be forcing apes to duel. That has to come from the heart.
Let's duel! Duel!
Whoa, it talks?
Please, that would be completely unrealistic. His helmet reads his mind and talks for him.
Okay, that's enough of a breather. Let's get back to the show. Alright, so the gang's all here. They're ready to find Jesse, and as before, the world is inhabited by some normal people, and then everyone else is a duel monster. All the duel monsters then play other people in duel monsters, and whoever loses gets sent to the stars, which is like when Mom and Pop tell little Timmy that the dog is living on a farm upstate, when in a more real sense, it means they're dead. So every single duel is a win or die situation, and there were some really compelling matchups with this, because side characters get a lot of time to have their own duels, and their duels are typically far more interesting than Jaden's, because with Jaden, you know, he's probably gonna win. It becomes far less clear-cut with side characters, and it adds some form of the idea of tension. Now, tension is something this show and many other children's shows really lack. As a kid, this made a lot of shows dull or formulaic, especially action shows. Like character outfits or situations or episode-to-episode interactions between characters would largely remain the same no matter what happened in individual episodes. Say Pokemon, for example, where Ash and the gang go on crazy life-changing adventures and take on great monumental tasks. Then the episode will end, and then we begin the next episode with the characters largely in the same situation, the same outfits, and really basically unaffected by the events of the previous episode. Everything always returns to normal. This was used in many children's shows, especially back before video on demand became a thing. There's a lot of reasons for this. Video on demand is not the only reason, but this has helped change a few things in terms of children's entertainment, because back before video on demand, if you missed an episode, you'd either have to pray for a rerun or you'd be just shit out of luck. So everything returns to a place of normal where you don't feel like you missed anything from the previous week. But how can anything in that situation be truly tense if you know that everything's just gonna return to normal by the end of the episode? That's where Season 3 of GX really steps up. Who will live and where will this go next? Aster faces off against Adrian as he tries to unleash the power of Exodia, a card we're told from episode 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is incredibly powerful. Who will win? How will this play out? For once, I'm actually not sure, and the mystery makes the duel exciting and tense. Anyway, Jaden finds a demon lord, he wanna fight him, so fight him he does. And in the process, Chazz, Hasselberry, Alexis, and Alexis's brother, who I totally remember the name of, all die. They all die cursing Jaden's name, calling him selfish and uncaring for letting them die and be sent to the stars. Did I mention this got dark? Watching this episode, I was just thinking, there's no way they're just gonna kill them all off, right? They can't possibly do that. Then they kill them all off. Axel and Crocodile Jim become the main characters from this point, with Cyrus going off to grapple with his friend's death and just needing some time away from Jaden. Jaden himself disappears from the story altogether as the land is taken over by the Supreme King, an evil duelist terrorizing the land and killing all in sight. Turns out this is Jaden, who has gone mad with power, so it's up to Jim and Axel to break through to him. Jim tries first and fails and dies, so Axel has a tense battle where he's able to sacrifice himself to rid Jaden of the Supreme King's personality. Jaden then faces a long road to recovery as Aster Phoenix tries and fails to stop Adrian. That's one of those tense duels I mentioned earlier. While Zane faces off against Jesse, who was possessed by Yubel, the duel ends with Zane dying of a heart attack caused by all the kinky electric pain duels he's been into.
Hey Cyrus, I'm proud of you, and I always will be.
No, Zane!
Everyone is dead. Everyone except for Cyrus, Jaden, and Professor Crowler, who's there for some reason, has been sent to the stars. Now after this, Jaden regains his composure, faces off against Yubel, and brings everyone else back to life. Meaning that no one really stayed dead, but the fact that this show went there and did not give you a hint that anyone would come back until the final 2 episodes of the season is crazy. You as a viewer do not know that these people have the opportunity or ability to come back until they actually come back, which can be seen as a bit of a cop-out, but they have to bring them back they can't just kill off their entire cast, so I get it. So it's still crazy that they allow you to think that these characters are dead. To end the season, Jaden comes to an understanding with YUGIOH about how he understands why she's angry at him, understands the place for all the rage that drove him to be the Supreme King, and it ends with him coming to terms with it and allowing YUGIOH to live in his soul with him. Everyone comes back to life and returns to Duel Academy safe and sound. As I said before, this season is not a masterpiece of storytelling, but for an anime based on a children's trading card game, you really aren't going to get a whole bunch better than what this season gives you, and how it pays off on some stories that were set up in earlier seasons that didn't seem to be going anywhere. It has by far the best villain in the entire series and adds a whole bunch of interesting new characters to the show. And it is the best by far the series has to offer you in terms of actual storytelling. Season 3 took a long time to explain there because it is pretty dense, but then we come to Season 4. Now, do you remember when I said back at the beginning of this video where I didn't want to experience the show not dubbed by 4Kids? Well, it turns out I really didn't have a choice. Season 4 only comes in subbed. 4Kids did not touch this season at all. To be honest, going from the goofy cast to the English dub to the Japanese cast is kinda jarring. The actual Japanese characters' names are something I still struggle to adjust to as well. Also, the basic design of some of the cards are different. Like, apparently Elemental Hero Burstinatrix was altered from this to this. Or YUBEL was changed from this to this, and YUBEL's voice, which sounds like a child in the English dub.
My pain is yours, my sweet suffering, all my sorrow. I share it all with you, Jaden.
Sounds more like a mature woman in the Japanese version. With Season 4, you see growth in characters, mainly Jaden, who is still scarred by what happened to him and what he did in Season 3. So he has more of a dark, edgy design to go with that. You see his collar's a bit higher, that means you're edgy. The dual discs get a change as well, getting a bit more color to them. Will say the score in Season 4 is awesome. I love what they do with it, and it makes every battle feel 10 times better than the previous seasons with just that change. Season 4 is also much shorter than previous seasons at only 23 episodes, and most of its stories revolve around the cast preparing to graduate, and growing up and learning. Oh, and also the embodiment of darkness makes everyone on Earth disappear and forces Jaden to duel for the fate of the world. Here he also reveals that before the universe there was Duel Monsters. Duel Monsters is a cosmic force that humans just happen to tap into. Duel Monsters is the Big Bang. Before there was everything, before there was nothing, there were Duel Monsters. Anyway, Jaden wins because of course he does. Guys, come on, do you really think Jaden was gonna lose? He graduates with all of his friends and then meets current day Yuki, who tells him that Jaden has one last test before he can truly graduate from Duel Academy. He is sent back in time to duel Yuki at his most powerful, and from here comes one of my favorite moments in the entire show. Jaden and Yuki duel, and the entire time Jaden is trying to figure out, is this a test because he has to prove he's better than Yuki? Is this some battle to tell all the fanboys who is the true king of games? No, it's not. This duel isn't about who wins or who loses. This duel is to remind Jaden of what Duel Monsters is supposed to be. Fun. Throughout the past couple seasons, Jaden has gone through hell, dueling for his life as well as the fate of the human race. And the point of this duel isn't to give some fan service, though that is a nice perk. It's a payoff to all the growing that Jaden has actually done as a character throughout the show, but reminding him of his love and passion for the game, win or lose. The series ends without declaring a winner, because who won never really mattered, and Jaden heads off to parts unknown to duel his heart out. I started making this video with the idea that I would go through here just having fun ribbing a silly, overdramatic show, but I was surprised to find a heart to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and a message that the show really grows into over its run. Personally, I never played that much Yu-Gi-Oh!, not in a competitive way at least, but the message of just having fun, of getting together with friends and playing a card game for fun and having a great time instead of caring about who wins and who loses does remind me of one of my favorite ideas from one of my favorite card games. Magic the Gathering. Because of course I play Magic the Gathering, come on guys, keep track. This video could go on for another 20 minutes of me just talking about all the fun times I've had playing Magic the Gathering with friends, but I'll leave it at this. The value placed not on winning, but on having fun with friends playing a card game is one of the most valuable lessons this show could teach. And it's something I don't think is valued enough with card game players. And I adore this message from GX because it's one that I wholeheartedly agree with. GX just ends by simply reminding you, the player, to have fun, which is also the main emotion I got out of this long, repetitive, poorly written, poorly dubbed show. It was a blast to watch through. Now, would I recommend this to you? Probably not. It does take a long time for this show to actually get going, over 100 episodes to get to season 3. Though if you enjoy bad dubs and just need a disposable series to marathon through, you're not going to do a whole bunch worse than Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, especially if you're already familiar with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It's something new, but also very familiar. There's new characters, new settings, but the game itself stays very much similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! In ways that I know further spin-offs do not. This process of covering this series has been a long and arduous one. This is the biggest time investment I put into any one of my videos previous to this. And while I wish I could have made the video faster, I just hope the time I put into it was all worth it for you. If you like this video, please share it around with friends. I promise my next Cold Hard Complaints video is gonna come out sooner than it took me to bring out this one. So if you want to stick around for this kind of content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys just go out and believe in the heart of the cards. Thank you very much for watching, and you guys have a great day.